Is Vincent Kennedy McMahon finally getting his own? You're fired. As TKO is reportedly making moves behind the scenes to possibly give Vince McMahon the old boot in the ass. Don't let the door hit you on the way out. This as Vince McMahon has put up 1/3 of his shares of his stock in the company of TKO, bringing his ownership down from 16% to 11%, roughly. Now, some would say if he's selling all of his stock to get out of the company, why wouldn't he sell it all? Because that would tank the company. If Vince McMahon just sold all of his shares, 16% of the company went on the market, that could be a bad sign. The price, the stock already dropped just with the announcement of Vince's shares going up for sale. But why? Why is Vince's shares going up for sale? What exactly is going on? The first clip I want to play for you here is from Wrestling Observer Radio, where we kind of get into the nuts and bolts of the details of what's going on with the stock sale. And then we will check back in with you on the back end, and we got another clip coming up here after that. But first, check out this clip from the Wrestling Observer. More details on the sale of the stock.
Doesn't have anything to do with inside the ring, really, but everything to do with the corporate side of things. Vince intends to sell off approximately 1/3 of his stock in TKO, the company composed of WWE and UFC. That is according to an official press release yesterday. McMahon plans to sell 8.4 million shares of TKO stock, which is currently valued, or at least was as of yesterday, at $713 million. McMahon would receive all proceeds from the sale, with Endeavor Group, TKO's parent company, purchasing $100 million of McMahon stock. Endeavor CEO Ari Emanuel has also indicated his interest in buying $1 million worth of McMahon stock, while other unnamed company directors are also interested in purchasing $850,000 worth. The 8.4 million shares that McMahon would be selling off make up nearly 1/3 of the 28.84 million shares McMahon currently owns, and would reduce his ownership stake in the company from 16.4% to 11.6%. The stock closed on Thursday at $84.90. It fell in the after-hours trading and opened this morning at $76.87. In a September regulatory filing with the FCC, TKO announced that all of McMahon's stock would be available for a buyback, and he would not be tied to the same restrictions that other large company shareholders would be held to. At the time that occurred, Axios reported that McMahon, having the ability to sell his stock, quote, seems to be about giving McMahon flexibility, or maybe even TKO flexibility, given the ongoing investigation, end quote. As you may remember, there was a raid on Vince and WWE again, with still the FCC investigating, and I guess the Southern District of New York still investigating, or the SEC, I believe it said the FCC, but the SEC and the Southern District of New York looking into payoffs that McMahon had made, and in relation to all of that stuff. The filing said that McMahon, as well as two other TKO executives, will be selling stockholders in this offering, meaning that they had planned to sell their stock at the time of the deal. This morning, David Faber on CNBC said that apparently, in quotes, it was about estate planning for McMahon, who is 78 years old. In this week's Wrestling Observer newsletter, Dave notes that McMahon has to maintain 7 million shares to keep his position as chairman of the board of directors, and even when the sale goes through, at over 20 million shares, he is comfortably above that threshold.
So is he just cashing out his stock because he's old? Because he's going to die soon? Probably, eventually. I mean, it is Vince McMahon, so it's not a guarantee. If anybody is going to live forever, it's going to be Vince McMahon, or at least live into his hundreds. I mean, his mom lived to be 100 and something, so of course Vince would, that fucking bastard. But is this just a matter of Vince is old, so I'm going to cash out some of my shares here and live my life a little bit, right? Set up some shit for the great grandkids, the great grandkids, set up some other business ventures, tie up my loose ends. One of the things is that his stocks were kind of liquid, built right into the deal to begin with. And that is not always the case. And I'm no expert, so correct me if I'm wrong in the comments. But it's not usually the case that somebody can have access to cash out their stocks right away like that, for the exact reason that it would, it's a bad look for the company if it goes public immediately and then just all of a sudden people start selling off the stocks right away. So, you want people to buy into that company. You want that to stay strong, though. There's rumors going around now that this might just end up going private again, that TKO might be taken private. A lot of the people buying up Vince's shares are people already with the TKO group or Endeavor. So this is an interesting thing. So, but there's a lot of people who think Vince is just on his way out, that this is a maneuver from TKO to try to give Vince McMahon the old axe. And for more information on that, let's hop on over to Sean Ross Sapp on Fightful on his show, The Hump, with Fightful owner Jimmy Van, who is somewhat of a business expert, as I understand it. And he kind of breaks down the business side of this and why he thinks, due to different ways that the SEC is filing shit and that sort of thing, that Vince is definitely on his way out. Check out this clip.
Yeah, it looks like they're looking to take steps to remove him as chairman. That's what it looks like. Now, I want to say one thing with the latest SEC filing, because I saw some places report that there were 2 new sections in that, and there was actually 1 new section in that. One of them they'd filed in September. But let me kind of break it down. So the latest SEC filing that Endeavor filed for Q3, there was a couple of things related to Vince McMahon in there. One was about how there is an adverse impact that future allegations and investigations could have on business performance. That, I think, was the new one, where they're basically saying, Vince McMahon being around, that could impact our business if there's another allegation. The other one had to do with his membership on the board and how it could have adverse financial impact. That one they had put in the August filing. So that one wasn't new. They had said that before. One thing I want to say is I don't know about the provisions in the paperwork when they did the merger. I don't know if there's anything in there protecting Vince from a board vote before a specified period of time. And there's a thing called the AOA. It's the Articles of Association that a company like Endeavor would have, that's got the rules and regulations in there with respect to internal affairs. I don't know anything that might be in there, but it sounds to me like they are planting the seeds for a board vote. That's what it looks like. And if they do a vote and if Vince gets voted out, he does not have majority control to get back in this time. And people are confused on that because he had majority control of WWE, but he doesn't have majority control of TKO. Endeavor does. So if he gets voted out as chairman, he's done. And it sounds like that's where they're headed. I don't know. You have anything else you want to add, Sean?
No, I mean, I think that you have said virtually everything that could be said about this well before it even happened. There's not really a lot more I can provide on that, but
so with Vince McMahon's assets, his shares in the company of TKO being liquid as they were to begin with, I think this was a plan right from the beginning. Now, I also don't think that Vince McMahon is stupid enough to fall for this. In fact, Vince is a genius. Even though he's old and senile and a bad booker and a rapist, possibly, maybe, allegedly. God damn it, allegedly. She liked it. Okay, I was in really bad taste. But, you have to admit that Vince McMahon is not stupid enough to just fall for some fucking, TKO is going to swindle me out of the WWE. He's not going to fall for that. He's surrounded by brilliant people. If he didn't think of it, people around him were thinking of it. Jerry McDevitt, I think, he just left WWE after being with him for a bajillion years. But even him, Vince has lawyers, advisors. He's not going to fall for this shit. I think this is more a case of, because all of this was going on during the fact that Vince was going through all this controversy, and, it could play out any which way. Who knows? He could go to jail, bad publicity, all of that. And he's fucking pushing 80 now, 75, 80. So he's going to not be around a whole lot longer. So for him to have his 16% of the company be liquid, for him to be able to cash that out whenever he wants, is both to his benefit as an old man, but also as a good escape mechanism for if any kind of shit hits the fan. He can just duck out. He doesn't have to stay tied, or he could be bought out, which appears to be, being the case for the most part. So I don't think this was a sneaky swindle from Ari Emanuel and Endeavor, though you can't rule it out. It's just, I don't think Vince McMahon's that dumb. He's just not. Vince would be the mastermind of this plot on his end. So they're, buying fucking WCW, for example. He might swindle them. You know what I'm saying? If the roles were reversed, I just don't think... It doesn't make sense to me. You got to go with the path of least resistance if you want to find the most likely answer. It's got to be the answer that makes the most sense logically. This was structured this way to begin with because this was the plan to begin with. Vince was going to get phased out early on, but they had to keep him on both for the stock to go public, for the people that were going to be like, oh, wait, WWE without Vince, whatever will happen to the WWE? So they had to keep Vince on as a figurehead. 2, Vince probably knew that, and Vince is not ready to let this go either. So Vince took the deal that kept him on as a creative control, not a creative like Triple H, but somebody that's still high up in the company, has some control over his own company. So that was the deal that kept him on board. And then it was just structured in a way where he could be slipped out, which way that happens. Either way, I think the answer is still the same. I think Vince McMahon's on his way out the door. I think we're going to see a slow transition. We don't want to scare the stockholders or anything. Vince McMahon is going to see his way out maybe over the next couple years. Because also, another reason to keep Vince on board is the renewal of the WWE TV deals. Talking about people maybe not wanting to be scared of a WWE without a Vince McMahon. What'll happen? A lot of TV networks might feel that way. So it's a good idea to keep Vince McMahon on till all the business is squared away, right? We got a 5-year TV deal with the CW. I don't remember what SmackDown signed for with USA. It's either 3 or 5, I'm assuming. And then SmackDown, will get its own 3 or 5 year deal. So once they're set up with all that, they can kind of shake things up any which way they want. And though, they might take an initial bump on the stocks, it's not going to hurt them altogether. With this sale of this stock, this would put Vince McMahon at 11% ownership. I would suspect that he'll keep ownership to a certain extent of this company when he leaves. He'll cash out the other third, maybe, and keep a third in TKO, or maybe not even that much. But I think we're looking at a world where Vince McMahon is out of the way, and maybe he stays on board as a consultant. Maybe he, what does a Vince McMahon do with his life other than eat fucking steaks and work out and bang a bunch of young blondes and brunettes, and who knows? Maybe he finally gets that divorce with the old lady. Maybe he goes and he joins AEW and he does a run in and he's brought out to face Ric Flair in his last match. Who knows? Who knows where everything's going these days? But certainly this is a big shakeup in the industry, and it's something that we're going to absolutely want to still keep an eye on and see where things go from here. But I think Vince McMahon on his way out the door. Let me know your thoughts down in the comments below. Do you think Vince is on his way out? Do you think he's being pushed out? Do you think he was swindled, hornswoggled, bamboozled? Or do you think this was part of the plan all along to just slowly phase him out after the TV deals? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Hit that subscribe button while you're there. Peace, love, and pizza. I'm going to go ahead and move on to the next.
Let me tell you something, brother. You can check out full episodes each and every Sunday right here on this channel, dude. Don't forget to like, don't forget to subscribe, and don't forget to take your vitamins and say your prayers, brother.